If you're planning on playing a heavy build in New World, then this video is for you. Chances are you've already seen the upcoming changes that are coming to heavy builds, which primarily is just adding the overall stamina usage per dodge in heavy builds. Currently, you can see at 100 stam, if I do a dodge, it goes down to 60. Actually, it's 110 down to 60, so it costs 50 stamina per dodge. They are going to be changing that to 55. So right now with the Hardy Ring, I can dodge 3 times. After this change, I will only be able to dodge twice. Now, many people are having the debate on whether or not this is going to either make or break heavy builds. Some people are just slowly transitioning to medium builds already. But long story short, heavy is not entirely dead. Just because they did not touch the overall damage output of heavy builds. So with a few little tips and tricks, you can actually still dish off a ton of damage using a heavy build, while also not being super concerned about your stamina usage. So in this video, we are essentially going to be taking a closer look at a few tips on how you can actually use this upcoming change for your advantage even, and how you can still utilize heavy builds to just dish off tons and tons of damage while still having a great amount of armor and defense. So without further ado, let's spin right into things. I do want to call out the fact that these are just 5 fun new ways you can actually utilize heavy builds with these upcoming changes. So again, I'm not saying this is the way to play heavy. I'm not saying this is the best or most efficient way to even play heavy. I'm just saying that with these upcoming changes, there's a few unique, fun, different changes you can actually utilize with your heavy builds. Starting with this first one, which is utilizing a perk that a lot of people don't tend to use, called Desperate Empower, right there on the bottom. It calls out that you gain 12% damage when you are exhausted. So essentially, you become exhausted when you are completely out of stamina. So due to the fact that your dodges are now leading to a faster rate of stamina usage, chances are you're going to be a lot more exhausted, especially if you plan on actually just manipulating this and purposely dodging like crazy just to become exhausted for that damage boost. So what I'm going to be doing here is essentially just showing you an A/B test. I have the complete same amount of strength and everything. What I'm just going to be testing is the usage of Desperate Empower compared to Enchanted. And again, I know this has Keen and everything. We are not talking about crits or anything along those lines, just straight up base damage on how much damage I would deal if I am a heavy player utilizing Enchanted versus a heavy player utilizing Desperate Empower when my stamina is empty. So first things first, what I'm going to do is kill my stamina and then hit this dummy here. 1, 2, 3. Bam. 2480. Now if we jump on over and equip the Enchanted Axe. There we go. I'll just go ahead and do the same thing in regards to the dodges, even though it doesn't matter. 2344. So there's the difference right there. We can tell that there is quite a bit of a difference. Again, people tend to love stamina regardless because it helps them get into, get out of sticky situations. Plus, dodges can set you up for other great perks such as Shirking Fortification, Shirking Heals, or the other item I want to call out that you can have a little bit more fun on is Shirking Lightning or Shirking Attunement. Essentially any of these offensive shirking perks, because they will stack together. So let's say I'm in a large clump, I'm wearing heavy armor, I'm dodging, and I purposely do, kill my stamina, and then I'm in a huge clump and I use Enfeeling Maelstrom. That's dealing a total of plus 12% damage due to the fact I'm exhausted, as well as utilizing the fact that my next hit within 10 seconds will deal 45% base weapon damage as that specific element. So adding that together, that's a huge damage boost, especially considering you're pretty protected utilizing the high armor that's in heavy sets. So that's just another fun way that kind of opens you up for some more builds to really utilize essentially like a exhausted heavy build where you're just dodging like crazy and dishing off as much damage as possible. The next tip I do want to call out is the fact that if you are purposely trying to essentially drain your stamina for an exhausted heavy build, that means that it kind of opens you up to additional opportunities as well when it comes to your ring perks. Typically, most people run hardy, which grants you that 10% max stamina, which in today's day and age, you know, before this heavy nerf that's coming in regards to the stamina, essentially I will be drained completely from stamina regardless if I have hardy or not. So it doesn't make much sense, in my opinion, to utilize hardy when you could benefit more from other perks. Because hey, if I utilize hardy once this patch hits and I'm using a heavy build, sure, it's nice to have some more stamina. However, I do not have 3 back-to-back dodges regardless. I will have to wait upwards of a second or so in order to actually get that 3rd dodge. Next up, I want to have a quick discussion over the usage of thwarting strikes. Now, a lot of people assume that if you are running a heavy set or if you are running thwarting strikes, it means that you 100% need to utilize 300 Constitution in order to get that active grit. That is not always the case. So right now you can see that my breakdown as a heavy set is 350 int and 210 Constitution. At 300 Constitution, my basic melee attacks, which are both light and heavy attacks, gain grit, which is definitely useful if you're a clump fighter and whatnot. However, it's not entirely going to make or break certain builds, especially if you are specifically focused on ability damage. Now, for example, if you take a look at my Warhammer tree, and again, this is with the Lightning Artifact Hammer, so typically my layout does not look like this, but as you can see, all of the skills that I am utilize right there adds grit. Mighty Gavel, the last perk here, adds grit, and same with Shockwave, this ability has grit. So essentially, my thwarting strikes on my hammer will take into account the fact that those abilities have grit and will add that additional 7% damage even if I am not at that 300 Constitution. Essentially, that 300 Constitution is nice for both light and heavy attacks, but it is not 100% necessary. Last but not least, I do want to call out the overall power behind the Void Dark Plate when it comes to heavy sets specifically. Again, I mean, regardless if you are running a light, medium, or heavy build, there are tons and tons of different builds out there. I am not going to be the one saying this one is better than that one and vice versa. But when it comes to heavy sets and utilizing the Dark Void Plate, this is really where it shines, specifically for that Dark Reinforced perk, which calls out that your armor is increased by 20%. I just want to really point out the fact that the overall armor that you gain from heavy gear compared to light or medium gear is pretty great and dramatic. If we can take a look right here, we can see that both elemental and physical armor, we get 794.7. If you compare that to a medium chest, it's 437.3 for both elemental and physical. That's what, over a 350 difference, which is huge. And that 350 armor difference for both elemental and physical are both impacted by that increased 20% buff that this perk gives you. Again, it's not for every heavy build. I'm just saying that if you plan on using the Void Dark Plate, you'll probably get the most out of it if you are running a heavy build. I mean, currently my Abyss Ice Gauntlet build, I'm using the Freedom Pants, but I keep going back and forth on whether or not, I want to keep running these pants or switch things up and swap out my heavy chest for that Void Dark Plate to really just max out on overall armor. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Again, I am not calling out that these little fun facts are 100% the way you have to run heavy armor, because let's face it, it's not. It's just fun, new, creative ways to kind of utilize new builds and just have some fun with it, because there's no huge updates coming to New World until the May timeframe. So in the meantime, we have to keep ourselves busy, right? So utilizing these different fun perks and using them in new unique ways is how I'm going to be spending my time over the next few months. If you guys are interested in seeing a exhausted heavy melee build, let me know in the comments below, or just let me know if you think this build would be a waste of time. Thanks again for watching. If you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to like and subscribe because I've got a lot more content coming soon. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys later.